All right, let's do this. One, two, three, four.
Hello and welcome to It's Always Foggy in Silent Hill. We got a special episode for you today. We're going back to the world of video games, specifically horror video game movies. And instead of Resident Evil, we are taking a look at, you guessed it, Silent Hill. I am your host, Lugia, and these two are...
I'm Red. I'm a big Silent Hill fan.
And I am Patrick. I have no Silent Hill experience, so
All right.
nothing new here. All the video game movies we've talked about, I have no experience with any.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, we're going to be skipping the news today. No, nothing particular interesting. Just a bunch of trailers and whatever. Why don't you
That was
take it
fast.
away, Lugia?
Well, first, I just want to briefly discuss our
Your
history with Silent
yeah.
Hill. Yeah. So,
Okay, so
I know Patrick has like nothing to do with Silent Hill. Like this is all new to you. Well, actually, do you know anything about it apart from this movie?
Apart from this movie, I know it's very foggy.
Yes.
And I also know people were upset when they canceled Silent Hills. But
or PT.
Otherwise, yeah. Other than that, no, nothing.
Okay.
All right. Well, my opinion on Silent Hill is that I think it's one of the greatest franchises of all time, and one of the few examples of truly inventive, groundbreaking storytelling in the video game medium.
Now, when you say that, does that also include the games that didn't involve Team Silent?
That's 50-50. I am sympathetic towards Silent Hill Downpour and Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I think those games, while very flawed, have some interesting stuff in them. Origins, I just think, is very dull. Homecoming is one of the worst games ever made.
I'm not exactly a Silent Hill.
The original 4 is great. Yeah, the original 4 I think is fantastic.
All right. So I'm not exactly like a Silent Hill aficionado. I've played the first 3 games, and I am eyeing on The Room. That's what Silent Hill 4 is called, The Room. Obviously, you know how that makes me feel. But I really did enjoy my time with the first 3 games. I think they're probably some of the best horror games you can find of their generation, apart from, Resident Evil.
Resident Evil is a more popular franchise. I personally prefer Silent Hill. I like them all. I really like Resident Evil too.
It really all depends on the game. Like,
here's the thing, Silent Hill I think is actually like freaky and scary. Resident Evil isn't, but I appreciate a lot more of the management stuff in that. That's what I like Resident Evil for.
Here's the way I like to see it. Resident Evil is a more fun horror game. It's a game that encourages you to replay it, like get the fastest times, know the ins and outs of the game, find different routes for better item management. Silent Hill is more about the experience to me, and that can be said twofold with Silent Hill too, because my god, that is probably like one of the best games ever made.
Yeah,
but it's not a fun game to play. Like, you're fighting with the camera, the controls are stiff, but if you just play the game straight through, if you play the game straight through, like, you're in for a wild ride.
Here's what I have to say. Resident Evil is like a cheesy B-movie horror. Silent Hill, that's like artistic. That's like watching like I don't know, like an Argento movie or something. It's not really schlocky. I mean, there's like some corny elements, but it's more Lynchian, I guess. But yeah, anyway, now let's get into the movie.
Or rather, this is going to be a little awkward because when picking this, I didn't realize that this was a sequel to the 2006 Silent Hill.
That's fine. I didn't watch the original. I didn't have the time.
Yeah,
so.
I was just going to ask you if you watched it. Have you seen it at all?
I have seen it like about a year ago. From what I remember, it was basically the first game, but the main characters are kind of different, and their names are also different. So instead of Cheryl, it's Sharon, I think. The main character isn't Harry Mason, it's Rose, is that her name?
I think so. I haven't seen the first movie, remember?
Yeah, basically, parent goes into Silent Hill looking for lost daughter, finds out there's an evil cult. But I think their motivations were different. In Silent Hill 1, it was because Alessa... Well, Cheryl was the reincarnation of Alessa, and Alessa was used to birth God. I don't exactly remember what it was in the movie, but if Revelation is anything to go by, it was different, or at least from what that movie told me.
Yeah. So anyway, Revelations. It kind of is it technically a sequel? Like it's the second Silent Hill movie, but does it? I don't think it really follows up on anything in the first Silent Hill movie.
I did notice it.
I
Here's the
don't know.
thing.
It
Here's the thing.
functions as its own thing. You don't need to see the first Silent Hill to see Revelations.
It is considered a sequel because the main character of that movie also makes a couple of appearances in this movie. But yeah, if you want to see this by itself, which let's be real, why would you? You can, because it's not really about her, it's about Heather Mason. Now, going back to the discussion of the Silent Hill games, Red, I want to hear your thoughts on Silent Hill 3.
I think Silent Hill 3 is great. Maybe not as good as 2, but Heather is probably the best protagonist of the entire franchise. She's like a great character, tons of personality with all like the dialogue and stuff. And I liked I thought there was some clever stuff like the clowns are in this movie, but like within the context of the Silent Hill thing, the clowns nurses, well, the nurses aren't clowns here, but like the nurses in the second game is meant to like represent that person's sort of issues, but in the 3 they have Heather. They kind of modify the nurses to more be representative of Heather's stuff. So I thought,
I have a random
that
question.
was cool.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, there's like bunny plushes. Is that a thing in the game?
That is, yes. It is one of the
Yeah.
very first things you see when you boot up Silent Hill 3.
Okay.
Because,
like,
yeah, you go to the amusement park for the first time. It's supposed to be a dream sequence, which the movie also does. One of the first things you see is that bunny costume sitting on a bench.
gotcha. All right.
Yeah. They do have a couple references to the games. I know the ending references Origins, and there's like a Downpour reference.
Yeah,
there.
they straight up have Travis, the protagonist of Origins, like drive Heather and a certain somebody. We'll get into that later. In my personal opinion, I do agree with you. I think Silent Hill 2 is the better game, but I enjoyed my time with 3 a lot. Like, mechanically, it's very flawed in comparison to 2, and the story isn't as gratifying. So here's the thing. Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3 are connected. Silent Hill 2 is its own beast. It doesn't deal with a cult, but it's more about psychological horror and the reflections of the protagonist's previous baggage. I won't go into detail because I think you need to experience that game for yourself. In fact, I think everyone should, but that's the general gist. I do like Heather as a protagonist. I think she is my favorite protagonist in the series, just because she has a backbone to her. Like, she's still a little terrified about what goes on, but like she gets to a point where she's like, okay, you know what? I'm kind of sick of this shit.
She's the most likable protagonist.
She is the most
at least.
likable, yes. And you also feel for her by the end, which we'll get into some of the changes they made in a bit. All right, so I guess we're done about
Enough stalling. Get
Yeah.
into this.
What's the plot?
Oh, fuck. Where do I even begin? Okay, so here's the thing. Since I played through Silent Hill 3 very recently, like, that game's story is still in the back of my mind. When trying to distinguish that game's story to this movie, it's hard. It's genuinely really hard, but I'll do the best I can. Please correct me if I get something wrong. So, Heather Mason is a girl who is turning 18, like it's a day before her birthday. She's enjoying life with her dad, Christopher. That is until an old detective man named Douglas comes up to her and says, hey, there's someone looking for you. And she's like, nah, I don't want anything to do with that. So she goes into an elevator, and then Douglas dies to a scissor man. And then she meets a guy named Vincent. They become best buddies for some reason. So they go home, and they find out Harry's missing. And there's blood on the wall that says, come to Silent Hill. Not questioning what the fuck just happened, they go to Silent Hill, and they discover there's an evil girl named Claudia who wants to draw out...
Well, also, the buddy we find out is like this, was born in Silent Hill and had some weird shit done to him so he could leave.
Yeah, so Claudia, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't remember if Claudia wants to birth God in this movie. As far as I'm aware, she does, but she needed the seal of Metatron for that, which they find in Harry's treasure chest or something. Because there's also a point where Heather has to cope with the fact that she is a reincarnation of Alessa, and they do have that moment. They do have that iconic fight between her and Alessa, but as far as I'm aware, it's inconsequential. Because the whole you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll get into this later. But yeah, so they stop Claudia, who becomes BDSM Voldemort for some reason. And then there's Pyramid Head, who just fights her. Pyramid Head's in this movie. He's not in Silent Hill 3, but he's in this movie. So
fan service.
Yeah.
I mean, the nurses were heavily different in Silent Hill 3 too. So yeah, they just kind of tossed in a bunch of references for no rhyme or reason.
So, I mean, here's the thing: the nurses were still in the game, so it still makes sense.
Yeah, but it was it didn't make sense because they specifically changed them in 3 to fit the new thing. They didn't understand why they changed them. They just decided to go with the more iconic one because they just didn't understand the source material.
So
what I'm saying is, like, they just threw in a bunch of references without understanding what the actual, like, context and function behind them.
You know what they did put in though that wasn't in Silent Hill 3? The straitjacket enemy. That was in Silent Hill 2. But one thing at a time here. So they escape. Heather, Harry, and Vincent get out of Silent Hill, but then Harry's like, "Oh, hey, wait. My wife's still in there. I gotta go. Bye, Heather." And then they just hitch a ride with Travis from Silent Hill Origins, and there you go. That's the movie. Okay. Oh.
So listen, I'm judging this as its own thing, not as an adaptation, because I think it's bad either way.
And I can only judge it as its own thing.
Yeah, here's the thing. Heather, I don't want to hate on the actress, but, like, I think it's the direction here and the writing. Heather does not have the qualities that made her a likable protagonist, nor is she a likable protagonist in this story.
In this movie, she is very generic. You know, the new girl that's a little edgy and a little emo.
You don't want to know my past and only make things work. Don't follow my Facebook.
Her introduction at the school was like one of the most generic things ever. Is like, I don't want to be your friend. It's like I have to.
This movie is very anti-Facebook. At one point, she just says "fuck Facebook."
Yeah.
I mean, that's the dialogue I'm expecting.
Someone
from
finds that a likable
movie.
trait about her. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, anyway, it's unbelievably cliche. That's like the thing that stuck with me. There's cliche, and there's like no real impact to anything. At least Heather, like, looks like Heather.
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, before we go any further, I just want to ask, is there anything about this movie you did like, Lugia?
I guess I appreciate the attempt at trying to replicate some of the themes that the game had, but it also does that very poorly. And also some of the scenes they try to rip from the game just fall flat on their face. Because here's the thing. The initial writer behind the first Silent Hill movie could not come back for this one, nor the director. So they got these two people who, I don't know if they are familiar with Silent Hill, but they also
work for hires.
Yeah, they also had a dilemma where they needed to appeal to both a movie theater audience and the audience that plays the games, and that was pretty impossible to do. So it was kind of just a lose-lose situation altogether.
Yeah, I just thought it was really boring and generic. Like, I don't know. There's nothing to grab onto the characters. They just kind of feel like very hollow archetypes, and I didn't think they had chemistry. Kit Harington and Heather.
Like, Douglas needed way more screen time. In fact, Douglas should have replaced Vincent for a good portion of the movie. I mean, I know that would make his role mirror the game, but that's the thing. The game also did it really good.
Oh yeah, did
Douglas
you guys notice
existed.
after Douglas gets stabbed and they have an overhead shot of the elevator, he's smiling.
Scary.
Dude is smiling after getting his fingers cut off. All right, so I haven't done much talking. I guess I'll jump into this. So again, I'm not familiar with Silent Hill in really any way, so I can only look at this as it is. I want to say I am the least negative of the three of us. I hesitate to say positive. I'm just very, 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 very lukewarm to this movie. It left no impression on me, and it was honestly boring. Like
Yeah, the 3D effects.
there were some interesting ideas, but I feel like they'd work better in the game. My favorite scene in the movie was that scene with the nurses because they don't immediately tell you like that they move based on sound, and I had to
Which
figure it
is
out myself.
not how it is in the game, but you know what? For
I
that
know.
scene, it works. All right.
Yeah, it's a neat idea how she's trying to rescue what's his name?
Vincent.
Vincent. How Heather's trying to rescue Vincent without making a lot of noise when he's, buckled into. It's a neat scene. That was the one scene that I thought was kind of good. Everything else I didn't care.
Yeah, I thought it looked too polished to be scary in my opinion. Like everything looked so clean. It didn't have like it's like the grime looked everything looked fake, like the CGI was really fake.
What
Looked
was the
more
budget?
like a video game than an
The
actual
budget
video game.
was 20 million.
Ah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fucking money.
Like when you describe some of
The
the
3D
gore,
effects is like
describe some of the gore, it sounds more disgusting than seeing it. Like the guy who's getting his stomach skin cut off by the butcher, it looks so fake. Same with when Vincent is getting the thing
it looks
carved
like
in him.
it's like when you go to like a cheesy haunted house. That's what this movie felt like. Going to one of those cheesy haunted houses on Halloween, except since you're just watching it on a TV instead of actually in there, like there's not even like a startle effect.
Yeah, and those were just the practical effects. The CGI is utterly unconvincing.
Yeah.
The 3D. Oh my god, this was
the fucking
the
mannequin
full movie
spider.
So the full movie is actually called Silent Hill Revelations 3D, and they have a lot of like these 3D, going at the camera things, and it's just not believable. It's so bad.
Well, to be fair, the dialogue is no better.
Yeah.
Again, fuck Facebook is a line in a Silent Hill movie.
Hey, listen, in the new Resident Evil Netflix show, they talk about Zootopia porn. So you know
what?
Yeah,
but
I'm not lying.
That's a thing?
That's an accurate representation of teenagers. All right, we talk about Zootopia porn. Nah.
Wasn't that line supposed to come from Wesker too?
I don't know. I think that was like it was one of the girls. I think.
I don't know.
One of the kids. So there's a lot of weird imagery, but like just no impact to it. Also for like the first half hour, all the horror stuff, it's just like looking creepy and she's walking around and nothing's happening. Because I'm like, I don't know how we're supposed to like feel scared when like there's no indication she's in danger for like a good chunk of the movie. It's only like towards like this one part that it did. Let's see.
I don't know if I missed something, but it isn't until about 30 minutes into the movie where they tell the audience that her dad killed somebody and that's why they're moving around. Did they establish that earlier or
No, they didn't.
So
when that was revealed, I was like, what? What? That would have been nice to know.
So here's the thing. All right, I'm gonna stop you there. So in the game, Harry's death is used as a motivator for Heather to go to Silent Hill, but it's done differently. Instead of just like the wall and them assuming, oh, Harry's dead, Heather just walks home like it was no big deal, and then she sees Harry's corpse on the couch, and obviously like she breaks down and cries. She finds Claudia in like the rooftop, you do a boss fight. Then she gets pissed and says, you know what, I'm going to Silent Hill because fuck that bitch.
I will say Harry's casting was good purely because he dies in like 5 minutes, and that Sean Bean, if you want to get guy to die, you get Sean Bean.
Well, no, he does live. I assume,
but like,
because the ending was a little vague, but yeah.
But still, he's assumed dead.
I want to go back to Heather real quick. So one of the scenes that really bothers me in this movie is the car scene when they're going to Silent Hill. Because I know Vincent's there instead of Douglas, whatever. What bothers me about that scene is the music that they use. it uses Silent Hill 2 music instead, which, I mean, yeah, whatever, big deal. But here's the thing. One of the greatest strengths about Silent Hill 3 and why Heather is such a strong protagonist is because of the music. It helps reflect on who she is as a character, what her faults are, stuff like that. And the fact that they use unfitting music for the kind of scenarios that she's in, it creates this dissonance between you and Heather that I can't help but just despise. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a me thing or maybe I'm just hating on this movie too much, but that's just how I felt.
I don't know. I think they just want to make a Silent Hill 2 movie, but they knew Heather would probably be a better protagonist for a movie, so they just kind of try to mix and match a bunch of
Because
stuff.
they wanted to
really
make a sequel to the
understanding.
original film, which is already kind of based off of Silent Hill 1. So where do we go from there? Silent Hill 3. It's not like you're going to have James do figure out all the cult shit. No, because then fans would say that's not what James does in the game.
Yeah,
Make
but
it Heather.
they still didn't make it accurate to the game, so I don't really see the point. But whatever.
All right, I think it's about time to let the cat out of the bag. Vincent, dear God, what did they do to Vincent? First off, I wanna hear what
They made him more relatable to the youngins. I don't know.
I don't
Listen.
I only saw that clip you sent me of how he's introduced in Resident Evil 3.
Resident
Are we sure
Evil.
this is? I mean, Silent Hill. Bleh. I only saw that clip of how he's introduced in Silent Hill 3. Are we sure this is the same guy? Because this.
Dude, I will never
is
understand
understand.
why they decided to make Vincent a love interest. I mean, his role is completely different, sure, but he wasn't really needed in this movie. Again, you could just replace Vincent with Douglas and get rid of the whole love affair that they're gonna have, and there you go. That would have been so much better. If you are gonna have Vincent in this movie, make him like he was in the game, where he's a questionable antagonist, someone that you don't really know if he is evil or not. And the answer to that is he has his own agenda, and he doesn't really care if you or Claudia lives. He just wants to relax because both of you cause him grief.
Yeah. Kit Harington does not do a good performance. Yeah, that's all I can say. There's so little character. I don't really know what to.
It's hard to even call him a character. All he does is just flirts around Heather, says, "Oh, I was actually born in Silent Hill. Here's my cool flesh tattoo." Then he gets kidnapped. Then he gets saved. He's like, "Well, I have a girlfriend now. Let's get on this random dude's truck."
The one thing.
Oh yeah, going on.
Okay. I'm just gonna say the one thing Vincent did that stood out to me was after Heather leaves the building, the mall, whatever, because of the dead body, and they find the dead body, and she meets up with Vincent in the crowd. He just goes, "Hey, you see they found a dead body over there?" His inflection, he said it with the same inflection as if he just saw the towels were on sale. like, who? There's a dead body over there. Did you see it?
Whoa.
I don't know. That was
pretty crazy, huh? See that every day. And not Silent Hill.
That's the one thing he did that stood out to me, which isn't a good thing. Anyway, what were you saying, Red?
I want to talk about the ending because the ending just completely lost me. Like that whole like last act or sequence.
I'm gonna be honest. The third act of this movie was a blur in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
any of it.
And that's when they get to Silent Hill. You know the name of the movie.
The one thing I do remember, they defeat the villain with the power of hugging.
Yeah. You wanna know what threw me off? Do you know who the villain is?
Claudia.
No, but do you know who plays Claudia?
No.
Carrie-Anne Moss, you know, Trinity from The Matrix and the lady
really?
Memento. Yeah. I didn't recognize her at all. And I was like, what?
It's probably because they shaved her eyebrows.
Yeah, and then at one point she turns into like BDSM Voldemort with like the fucking saw blades or whatever that just go in her head. That scene just cracked me up so hard. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Speaking of Claudia, she was really downplayed as a villain here. So in the game, I'm sorry for bringing up the game, but I can't help it. You see her multiple times throughout the game, and she constantly taunts Heather. I mean, she always goes on like a god spiel and how Heather's the one to birth God, but like she serves a purpose. She is the main antagonist, and she does do stuff. She's essentially the one who kills Harry, causing Heather to want to go to Silent Hill to kill her. In this movie, again, blood on the wall. I guess I'll go there. What the fuck? In fact, I think she's only in 2 scenes, right?
Yeah, she is not in the movie that much. Again,
anything
there's not much to commentate on any of the characters because there's so little character. The only way we can really say anything is just comparing it to the game, but there's just nothing here. This is just the most nothing movie ever made.
And it sucks because of the dilemma they had to do. Like, we have to make a sequel. It has to be Silent Hill 3, but like, how the fuck do we tie Silent Hill 3 to the previous movie that we made? Because it doesn't really connect, and that's just the biggest letdown. I guess, in terms of something I found interesting, I don't fucking know, I'm really grasping at straws here. It was interesting that they made Leonard a human instead of a meat man until he did become a meat man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, going back to the hug. What? Oh my god, the fucking Alessa thing. So I'd argue that the confrontation against Alessa, or Alessa's will, whatever you want to call it, in Silent Hill 3 is probably one of the most iconic moments in that movie. But
movie or game?
Game. I'm so confused on what I'm saying right now. I'm so lost. Okay. So, fight's fucking jank, right? But like it was still an interesting confrontation. The whole idea behind it is that because Alessa was abused all her life because the cult wanted her to be the mother of God, she figured, okay, you know what? If I kill Heather, there won't be a God and all my problems will just go away. Alessa's apparently working for the cult because of... they just settled the dispute with a hug and then Alessa dies or some shit. And Pyramid Head is just watching as he's cranking the merry-go-round to hell. What the fuck is this movie? What the fuck is this movie?
Not that good, I'll say that.
I mean, we've already established that.
We have
half an hour in this recording.
Dude, I have nothing else to say.
know,
I've said my piece.
We can wrap it up. I think.
I think I still got a few more things.
All right, go for it.
Just I wrote like 4 pages of notes, but a lot of it was just me complaining about shit.
And comparing it to the game.
Yeah. I already did BDSM Voldemort, not letting that one go. Did you guys see the post-credits sequence?
No.
Pyramid Head walks. There you go.
Okay.
That's it. That's the post-credits sequence. I believe there was supposed to be a potential sequel to this movie. I don't know if it's currently being made or even what they do. They probably highlight on Travis's backstory, if I had to guess, but if they're like so involved with the cult being a major part of Silent Hill, I guess, yeah, Origins would probably be the next step, but is it really worth it by this point? Like, does it really matter? Do people still give a shit about this movie series anymore?
I mean, it's been
Obviously
10
not.
years.
That's why they didn't make another one.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say.
I gave it like a 2 out of 10. I don't know.
3 out of 10. Go play Silent Hill 3 instead. It's a much better use of your time, even if it's like a 10-hour game.
This movie is leaving my head as we speak, so...
Yeah.
We
Anyway,
probably, yeah, in hindsight, we probably should have
if
just
you-
done the first movie.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want a good Silent Hill movie, watch Jacob's Ladder. That's my recommendation for good movies.
Yeah, the
Watch
beginning of
Jacob's
this,
Ladder.
the beginning of this movie reminded me of Zombieland because theme park and dead.
I
You guys ever
guess,
see Zombieland?
no, but I guess, I'll give this movie that. They didn't, like, accurately do the nightmare sequence at the beginning, but it was still interesting to see the chaotic nature of the amusement park, even if they showed a lot more things that weren't necessarily shown off in the game during that first visit. But, I gotta give this movie, something.
So what's next week?
Oh, it's my turn.
Yep.
All right. My original plan, I had a movie in mind that was also a sequel, but I'm gonna hold off on it because I think I want to do something that I know will like. Because hearing you guys be so negative, especially Lugia, I want to do something that will remind him that, oh yeah, we do have fun here. So,
Listen, I brought this upon myself. This was my pick. Well, no.
I know.
Also your guys' pick, technically, but I mean, I gave you the option.
I know, but I got something good for us next week. This one is one of my personal favorites. So, and I have a feeling that you guys are going to get sucked right into this one. Yes, you're going to be put right in.
Have you heard about it?
There's a good chance. Well, let me start over.
Is it Pleasantville?
Yes, it's Pleasantville. How did you guess?
You said sucked right in. I was like, okay, what's a movie where someone gets sucked into
Yes,
something? It was like
Pleasantville.
Pleasantville. Okay.
Pleasantville. This is
I've
one
actually
of my
not
favorites.
heard about it.
You haven't?
No.
It has
Oh,
Bully
dude.
Maguire.
Oh
It
shit,
has
really?
Toby Maguire and Reese Witherspoon.
Oh.
Yeah, they get sucked into this black and white TV world thingy.
Well,
So yeah, I've never seen it actually.
you've never seen Pleasantville?
Nah, I just never got around to it.
Oh, dude, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Cool. So next week we'll be watching Pleasantville. You got an outro?
Yeah, but I just want to say something real quick. So, despite the fact we were given a choice, I also saw Welcome to Raccoon City just for the hell of it. I have no idea how, but that movie was actually worse than this one.
What?
Yes, I mean,
I guess we made the right
that's-
choice then.
yeah, I mean, it's still relegated to subjectivity, but I do believe Welcome to Raccoon City was a worse movie than this.
Is
All
that
right.
on the chopping block at some point?
I honestly not in the near future. But yeah, so thanks for listening and just go play Silent Hill 3 instead. That's it.